The County of Savoy, born not from heroic conquest, but from the administrative whims of King Rudolph III of Burgundy. One day, Maurienne, Chablais, and Tarentaise were merely Alpine corridors. The next, they were a county, and some poor soul had to govern them. These early Savoyards learned quickly that mountains are valuable only when someone else must cross them. Tolls, passes, and the occasional diplomatic tantrum, this was their inheritance. In these 11th and 12th centuries, the dynasty begins its slow ascent from obscurity, though heaven knows the chroniclers tried their best to obscure it further. Here stands Humbert I, called the White Handed, though whether for purity or for lack of honest labor, the sources do not say. He attached himself to Emperor Conrad II, which proved profitable. Conrad rewarded him with the Savoyard Corps and the pleasant task of opposing Otto of Blois and Archbishop Heribert of Milan. Humbert dies at Armillon and is buried as Saint-Jean de Maurienne, leaving behind a dynasty that would spend centuries insisting it had always been important. Let's pause for the family tree, always a treacherous exercise. Humbert begets Otto. Otto begets Peter. Peter's line falters, so the crown hops sideways to Umberto II, then to Amadeus III, then to Umberto III. Along the way, we acquire Adelaide of Turin, Gisela of Burgundy, Mao of Alpine, and Beatrice of Macon. Marriages that stitch Savoy into half of Western Europe. If the tree appears tidy, that is only because I have spared you the footnotes. Otto I inherits Savoy and Maurienne, but his true triumph is marrying Adelaide of Turin, heiress to the March of Turin. This union briefly grants Savoy a commanding position in northern Italy, though briefly is the operative word, for imperial politics have a way of dissolving such gains. Still, Otto and Adelaide produced a brood that will shape the dynasty's fortunes for generations. Peter I, son of Otto and Adelaide, inherits not only Savoy and Maurienne, but also the headaches of Turin. He quarrels with the abbey of San Michele della Chiusa, because someone must always quarrel with monks perched on a mountain. His marriage to Agnes of Aquitaine ties Savoy to the great houses of the West, but Peter dies young, leaving the line to his nephew. A short reign, but not a quiet one. Umberto II, called the Fat because medieval chroniclers were subtle as anvils, was the grandson of Otto and the son of Amadeus II. He marries Gisela of Burgundy, a match that elevates Savoy's prestige, even if it does not greatly expand its borders. His reign is one of consolidation, alliances, and the steady accumulation of influence. He fathers Amadeus III, who will drag Savoy into crusading affairs, whether Savoy likes it or not. Amadeus III is the first Savoyard to stride confidently onto the European stage. He adds New Chalet in 1128, strengthening Savoy's grip on the Alpine passes. He quarrels with his brother-in-law Guy, naturally, and fights the Battle of Montmélian in 1142. His dispute with Louis VI of France is resolved by Peter the Hermit, who apparently had nothing better to do. Then comes the Second Crusade. Amadeus accompanies Louis VII and Eleanor of Aquitaine, meets them in Constantinople, and marches through Anatolia. He dies on the return journey and is buried at Nicosia, far from his Alpine home. Umberto III, called the Blessed, though his political record suggests otherwise, was a pious man ill-suited to the rough trade of ruling. He repeatedly attempted to retreat into monastic life, only to be dragged back by the needs of the county. Frederick Barbarossa strips Savoy of its Italian territories. Henry VI banishes him outright in 1187. His marriages are a litany of misfortune. One dies, one is annulled, one dies again. At last, Clementia of Zähringen gives him a son, Thomas, who will restore Savoy's vigor. Umberto dies at Chambéry and is buried at Hautecombe Abbey, which he patronized with the enthusiasm of a man seeking heavenly compensation. Across these 2 centuries, Savoy transforms from a modest Alpine lordship into a regional power. Its strength lies not in armies but in geography, those mountain passes that emperors, kings, and merchants must traverse. Marriages serve as engines of expansion. Turin, Burgundy, Alpine, Macon. Each alliance adds another thread to Savoy's growing web. By 1200, the dynasty stands entangled with emperors and kings, no longer a provincial curiosity, but a force to be reckoned with. Through Alpine snows their fortunes climb. Next we meet one who reshaped his time.